Hi there, Chad Giampedro back again with a weekly check-in. This week, I want to talk about our human nature to compare ourselves to others. 'Cause we're gonna be legends. Recently, I've joined Instagram. It's a new platform. I certainly love it. It's a visual representation of everything. Great platform, but I see there that there's a lot of comparison. You see folks, standing next to their Bentley, on their private jet, and it's our natural tendency to compare ourselves to them. A lot of it's marketing and a lot of it's posturing, and you get that. But not everybody totally understands that. In the early part of my career, I spent a lot of time, self-help type stuff, developmental books, Tony Robbins, retreats, things like that, and had a great impact on my career. And more recently, over the last few years, I spend more time reading autobiographies, successful individuals telling the story of their life. I've actually just finished this. This is actually a compilation of many of those, Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss. Great book. And what I found there is there's a pattern, right? That successful people go through chapters in their life, and we have to be careful that we're not comparing what chapter we're in to the chapter that someone else is in, and making that comparison. There could be a huge discrepancy, and it could be demoralizing in a way to say, wow, how come I'm not having that same type of success? You just may be in a different phase of your life. But here it is. I broke it down based on my research. You have really 4 chapters. It's the origin story, and this more relates to your career, not as much your entire life, but more on the career side of things. The origin chapter, the grind sacrifice chapter, the success chapter, and the legacy chapter. So the origin chapter, very simple. It's where you got your idea, how you got into the business, right? Well, however, what got you into the, whatever you're doing for a living or whatever you're investing your time into. It's typically a pretty short, portion of the story. Can be very interesting of how folks ended up at a certain place or how they got an idea. There's value there, but typically short. But then the next is the grind sacrifice. We hear that. We see that. We see visual representations of that. We've all seen the Jeff Bezos picture of him at Amazon in the middle, late 90s. Working on a desk that was plywood, and folks that were working in their garages. That's typically the grind story, the late nights, the difficult times, the sacrifice. Everything that goes into lifting from your origin story and getting closer to your success story, right? So the next chapter in this is success. And it's not uncommon. In fact, it's more probable that folks are bouncing back and forth. So they achieve success, they get into the business, they have their origin story, then they have the grind sacrifice, then they find success, right? That moves to the next chapter, and then you bounce back and forth. You find success, you lose it, you go back to the grind, you find success again, you bounce back and forth, right? And that could be your entire career. You could spend it there. And by the way, there's no guarantee that you ever end up in success. You may live your whole career in the grind sacrifice piece, and many people do that. But then there's the last chapter, which is typically legacy. So now in that legacy piece, right, you've mastered it, right? So you went through the origin story, you bounced back and forth between grind and success, and you stayed in success long enough to become a master, and you can recreate that success over and over again. And now you move to the legacy phase of your life, where you're now investing in others, you're investing in your business, your community, and those types of things, because you found that stability and success. But what happens is, we see this, right? We see the legacy piece, or we even see someone who's enjoying their success story, and we're still in our grind story, and we make a comparison. And in that comparison, right, we can find ourselves less motivated. We feel like, why are we not getting, the same result as this individual? But the reality of it is that number one, on social media, it may not be real. It may be something that someone is posturing in some way to sell you something. So first of all, make sure it's authentic. And then if it is authentic, turning it into a motivation. What I found in a book like this is that there were so many failures along the way. So in this bouncing back and forth between success and grind, there were failures. No one posts that on their social media accounts. Right? This video is really used mostly for LinkedIn, for folks that are in the same industry or adjoining industries. No one goes there and puts, negative things that happen in their life or in their business, right? When someone's at home, they're not taking a snapshot of the basket of dirty laundry in the corner, or the dishes in the sink, or the dog poop on the floor that they've got to clean up. Those are all parts of life that are not so pretty, and you're not seeing that visually represented on the screen or on your phone as you're looking through social media, so you start to believe that the folks that are there, they don't have those things going on in their life. And I'll tell you, even though this is on social media, I have a pile of laundry at home that I've got to get to. There are probably dishes in my sink from my kids' breakfast this morning, and there's probably some poop or pee on the floor from my dogs that are going to have to be cleaned up at a certain point in time. That's just the reality of life. But what we have to do is make sure that we're not comparing our lives to someone who has this representation online that's not real. And second, okay, if it is real, make sure they're not in a different chapter than you're in, right? If you're looking to find success, read autobiographies. Read someone who's in your industry or you feel like you make a connection with, and read about their life. You're gonna find that they've moved through all of these chapters in their life, bounce back and forth between some. Hopefully, if you're reading the book, obviously they've landed either at success or legacy, and that's where you want to go, and that could be a great roadmap for you to plot out. It won't be exact, but you can plot out your way to building your legacy chapter in your life. Listen, I appreciate you guys taking time with me this week. I'll be back again next week. Take care.